Right, I have a time of 2:04.
Through the inside here.
Call this meeting to order, 2:04. Steve, would you like to start roll call?
Okay. I think everybody's here. We're missing two people. But there's two that aren't here. Mark probably isn't gonna make it, and it looks like Jerry isn't either, Jerry Briggs. So Mark Christensen, everybody else is present. So our next order of business, number 2 on there is the review and approval of the minutes. And I hope everyone's had a chance to look at them. Take a minute here to go back over them real quickly. Any comments or on it?
Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve. Okay. Any other comments?
Well done.
I do too. Good job on it. Is there a second then?
Second.
Okay, been seconded. So all of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, they've been approved. So our next item, I'd really like to thank Michael Schaffner for agreeing to come back here and being able to meet with us, and you've brought with you.
Jeremy Snively.
Okay.
I'm out of Coos Bay at the bridge crew over there, and I'm the District 7 IBM coordinator.
Okay, great. So at this time, Michael, you were gonna give us a short presentation on what you guys do.
Absolutely. All right, like Jeremy said, this is the District 7 IVM, which stands for Integrated Vegetation Management, so not just herbicide application. And it's across District 7, which I'll get into a little more. So it's, I know this is Douglas County, but we do cover a few more counties than that. So what we do, we manage the roadside vegetation, maintain our adequate clear zones, erosion repairs, maintain site distance, build up the vegetation debris, reduce opportunities for snow drifts, shaded areas that'll freeze, fire risk, drainage, prevent regrowth of those target species that we're looking at, and or just vegetation on roadside. Control the noxious weeds and provide better visibility, and then probably the most important is we go out there and eliminate those hazard trees that you guys see leaning dead, things of that nature that come down on the highway. The rights of way are managed and maintained for safety, infrastructure, preservation, proper drainage, and or future expansion is kind of the key points of why we do that. And then we do that in a few ways. Biological, which we use bugs and things of that nature. Chemical, and then mechanical.
I'm assuming you just do this on state roads?
Yeah, this is gonna be for our state highways.
Okay.
Yep. Getting into that biological, we use the natural enemies, predators, parasites, pathogens, and competitors control pests and their damages. So Scotch broom, tansy ragwort, flea beetle, and cinnabar moth are some of the big ones that we've put out there and still running around today. Let's see a couple photos of that. For chemical, using naturally derived and or synthetic chemicals to manage the pests. So we run two different programs. We run our spring shoulder program, and then we run a fall fall brush spray program. And then in between that, we do spot spray applications. As you can see, there's our truck right there. That's what Jeremy coordinates, the spring and the fall programs.
So how wide is your shoulder program? Do you have a?
Yeah, so go ahead.
It varies from road to road. On I-5, we're spraying 8 feet of bare ground, so that's from edge of asphalt out. But then we also have a transition area where we're trying to kill the broadleaf weeds out there in the median of the I-5. You get onto some of our secondary highways, 101, 42, 138. They can vary. We try to get 6 feet, but depending on the ditch that we have and the road shoulder that we have, could be 3 feet. I think there's further slides in there, but the truck has the ability, the head on it is in 3 foot widths, so and they overlap, so that we can select to steer clear of the water, or if we don't have the shoulder for it.
Well, question real quick, you just said something, made me curious. So US 101,
Yeah.
it's a US highway, but the state maintains it?
Correct. Yeah, that is a state route. Yeah, 101.
Okay. I was kind of, you know, you got the US highways and, you know, you state roads, and I didn't know who maintained that.
So, yeah, I think a little further in the presentation, there's a map of the district. But I mean, we range District 7 for ODOT ranges all of 101 from the California border up to Lane County line, just below Florence. And then we come all the way over all the state highways, Powers Highway, 42, 38, 138 West, 138 East. We go out to, I think it's Boundary Road out there, just past the Susanville Campground. And then I-5 all the way, District 7 I think is about Glendale, and then just up to Cottage Grove, which is below Cottage Grove.
Okay, well, I was just driving around in Grant County here a few weeks ago. The roads are all maintained wonderfully. I think, near as I could tell, pretty much all the roads in Oregon are kept up fairly well. But what I was noticing was if you got on, like, let's say US 26, but if you got on to the state roads, the vegetation wasn't cleared back near as much, and these might have been county roads. And the roads themselves didn't seem to be near as wide. They had no shoulders either. Whereas
So that'll change from district to district, and even within the district, multiple maintenance sections, depending on their equipment, depending on what their focus is. So I run that truck and cover the entire district. There's a lot of places that the maintenance shop itself will specifically only do just their section. So then you get a little bit of a different style, not as cohesive. And that's our goal in District 7, is to be cohesive. That's why we run a district program rather than just an individual maintenance shop.
okay, I'm just curious. Sorry.
Yep, you're good. Ask away. That's why we're here. Mechanical, using equipment such as chainsaws, graders, brushers, tree falling, mowers, all that sort of stuff. We're out there on the highway clearing those sight distances and any sort of hazard that we have out there, whether that's for fire suppressant or anything of that nature. And then getting into a little bit of a breakdown, the totals are so much so you can't see like shoulder miles and mow acres and that stuff. But just as a district totally, our brush cutting by hand hours, that's at 83,000. And that's just for our District 7, which I'll show you guys on a map next. That's not statewide, that's between 4 maintenance shops on these certain highways. So when you were talking about up north on 26, they could have a completely different style and tactic attacking those, or maybe they wanna leave that scenery or things of that nature for that county could be a little bit different than what we do in Douglas County and Coos County.
I think that's great that you do it that way. I appreciate that information. I think we really don't, it's a way of seeing how successful we are. And if we don't have information like that for a lot of our things, we really can't say.
So you can see here, here's our crew 3204, so that's all the way down Brookings, going all the way up to Bandon essentially, and then with some highways such as Carpenterville and other highways of that nature. And then carrying up 101, we're taking care of 3202, which is my crew now. That's, you see what I'm clicking on? So you can see the 101 from Bandon all the way up 42 Spur, as they call it, into Coquille back to 42 Powers Highway, 101 up to Cape Arago with Cape Arago Highway, and then 42 back to the junction of 101 where you have Coos River 101, and then that would stop there to where it goes into Crude 3209, which is where I came from, which is where you tie in Saunders Lake area, Lakeside, go all the way up to the Lane County line, Booth Road area, and cut over, and then 38, 138, coming down the I-5 corridor with 138 East. And the total, what was the total this year for shoulder spray?
Shoulder spray, roughly 1,000 acres of shoulder spray out throughout the entire district.
So we handle quite a bit, but that's all that we have power over is just this small portion of the district. And then if you look at this map, so you can see all the different districts, District 8, 5, 4, as you get up into the Lane County and the Portland metro area, and then as you head east as well. So that's kind of how ODOT breaks down, and each one of those sections has their own management, which how they use their continuity throughout is different than us in District 7.
Do you know how many total road miles you maintain?
So
Not off the top, I know that Davis Slough has approximately 500 lane miles, 500 and change. So I don't know
that would
across.
be both directions, so yeah.
Mhm.
Side miles.
And I think Shady is somewhere, the Roseburg crew is in the 300 one direction, so about 600 or so. The South Coast in Curry County, that one's gonna be probably in the 300 range of miles, lane miles that they maintain. And then as far as Boswell, I think Boswell, which is the North Douglas section, is in that vicinity of the 600 miles.
Thank you.
We'd have to get some exact numbers on that. That'd be good to know. Moving on to just kind of the recipes that we've used in the past and kind of stuck with, the adjuvants being Siltac and Crosshair, and then the herbicides for the transition zone or the brush was going to be that Bassland and Milestone. And then for our bare ground, what we use on our shoulders will be that Esplanade, Open Site, Glyphosate, and Escort mix.
Say again, the middle herbicide, you use that on what?
On broadleaf,
And then the bottom, you spray that on,
bare shoulder. So when you drive up and down I-5 and we just have just shoulder rock and nothing coming through, that's that mixture.
oh, okay.
And then the first few feet of the grass that comes to that shoulder, that's what we use that Milestone for. And then Bassland's just another broadleaf that we use. And then getting into our equipment, this is our North Star nutating head. It shoots in a diffuse pattern. It's calibrated in the 3 feet with the overlap. We can shoot for 8 and 6 foot applications as well, and then that head articulates, so you can move that closer to the truck and away from the truck, as well as activating those blocks of 3 foot. So we have quite a bit of control, and then being able to put out that exact control and shut off as well. So when it shoots very flat. That's what the nutating part does. It takes those droplets instead of shooting in streams. As it's nutating, it essentially puts a cone effect on that droplet, and so it comes out wet like you were to spray it completely flat. Questions or anything?
Person on the back of the truck is controlling the sprays.
Person in the passenger seat.
Passenger.
Yeah, it's just all from a few switches in the passenger seat. So, and then the head's behind that driver.
How big a tank in your truck?
1,600 gallon.
Okay.
And then we use, which you can speak more about the
We use
cones.
a direct injection pump, so we have cones that house the chemical, so the 1,600 gallons is our water. And then the chemical is direct injected into the line and with the water, all based off of a program and a calibration for what rate we want for the application, how many gallons of water per acre for the application. And then that's the back of the truck with the cones there with the chemicals in it. And then the tank is in front of that, on top of the water side. That's our water supply.
Pretty sophisticated.
I think I just have a few photos. Yeah, and then just some of the stuff that we work very closely with Carrie, and so when she's telling us about the noxious weeds that are out there, or things that she's seen up and down the highway, then we try to take care of that list when we're out there doing our spot spray and stuff like that. So we found some puncture vine and yellow star thistle, and then pampas has just been exploding everywhere.
Yeah, I appreciate you going after that. That was when before I retired, we always worked with that. You guys got that one at Upper Rock Creek here a year or so ago on Highway 42. That was good.
Question on the truck.
Mhm.
Does it log the GPS coordinates of when it's spraying, or what it has sprayed?
So yeah, in years prior, no, we do that. We log every single day. We still do our logging, but now we've moved to an AVL system where that's tracking on-offs and things of that nature. Same thing with plowing snow and putting out sand and all that sort of stuff. That truck is recognizing when a product's being put out.
Okay.
So I guess moving forward, yes, it'll be through the cloud service that we store that information. But prior to that, we do written logs every day. That's it. So if you guys got any other questions or anything.
How much resistance from the community do you guys get for doing your job?
You know, I've heard horror stories in the past, and I've had one incident out on the highway, but other than that, sometimes there'll be a honk here or there. But for the most part, I haven't, in my experience, been messed with by the community.
It really depends on where you're at too. Different sections, different communities respond very, very differently. I've found most of them just want to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, what we're putting out, and they're fine with it. I have not seen very much resistance at all. Most of them they don't know what we're doing, and what you see is what's put in the news, and the news likes to kind of label it as everything's not good. So we try to be very open about everything that we're putting out and why we're doing it. And we've got evidence on the road shoulders to show where it's going to.
Yeah.
It also is better, I think, in my opinion, going away from the boom busters. You used to have a big, huge mist rolling behind the truck, and people's windshield wipers are going because you can't control all that. But now going to the direct injection system and that nutating head, it is very on and off. And when we add our adjuvants, that crosshair makes that water just disappear. So you can't tell that we're spraying anything, and then you look down and you'll see the shoulders wet. So it's not like it used to be, in my opinion. So a lot of that noise has gone away.
So that head is, if I liken it to a pressure washer, there's a rotating pencil beam for a pressure washer. That's
Sure.
kind of what you've got
Sure,
on
it's
the, on each
simple,
of the
yeah.
heads. It's a
It has a
rotating.
lope, yep, it essentially has a lope that's happening at so many RPM using electric motor, and it is, yeah, very similar motion.
So you're not spraying a mist, you're
It's
sticking with a
it's
pencil
controlling it,
beam.
yeah, it's controlling a droplet, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you working with Carrie, and we're worried mostly here about noxious weeds. And so you're going after that. And one of the things I always worried about and was concerned with was the spread of Scotch broom or some other products along the outside of that zone that you're in. And we used to work with Douglas Soil and Water, used to be able to had a crew that I know had contract work. Is that still an option in the future for those types of things to hit more of the shoulder, a little bit on those wide shoulders to go after some of those things?
I think it's things that can be talked about and discussed for sure. Some of the things that we're in control of are above us, so we'd have to run things up the ladder, but it's just a conversation. I know in the past there used to be a group that ran around and sprayed Scotch broom. It was a little bit before my time.
Yeah, they had a close working relationship ODOT did with Curry County, and would tackle Scotch broom and the gorse down
It's
there.
down there.
So I know that it exists, that partnership. We just have to be where, that's part of, with ODOT, we're tied to just the right of way, so we have to stay within those limitations for those sprayers. Because they're licensed to spray in the right of way. So as long as we can stay within the right of way, I don't see why some kind of partnership can't work out.
One of the things we can do, we can try to help you with writing letters or something like that too on some of your projects. Just want you to know that we want to work with you where we can.
Absolutely.
Everybody's in agreement of that.
So in Coos County, there was an agreement. There was some agreements regarding the Japanese knotweed, and I haven't heard anything about that recently. Are you guys still finding it? Are you still having to hit it big time?
It's still there and still very prevalent. I have not heard of any kind of a group or anything like that going after it recently, so that's been probably before my time there.
Okay, that was with the Coos.
Yeah, Coos Watershed and the Coquille used to deal with it, but I don't know now
It's a huge.
where that stands.
For your district, if you had to name like the top 3 or top 5 weeds that are problematic for you, what would you say those are?
So, Coos County, you're probably looking at the gorse and Scotch broom. Curry County, probably the same. Douglas County, I'd go into the Scotch broom and probably into the yellow star and what's the other one that Jeff's got?
Russian, we started getting that Russian thistle, which is
Oh.
spreading like wildfire up the I-5 corridor, which we're trying to attack.
The Glendale area, trying to attack that.
So around Glendale is where it's the worst.
Up through
Yeah.
towards Wolf Creek.
Well, yeah, between there and probably back towards, let's say in the Myrtle Creek area, that section there is where we've been fighting that.
That's the tumbleweed, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I saw one here just recently. Well, I thought, whoa, I haven't seen that since I moved out of Utah, and I just, I don't know how far it blew.
Tumbleweeds is, I mean, thousands upon thousands of seeds, and you see how fast they blow around. It's exploded just in the last 2 years.
Is it getting out of the rights of ways?
It is, I don't know about that, that would be a Jeff question.
I mean, it's a lot of farmland out there, pasture land, so I don't really see it that much, but I'm more focused on looking at.
Right, yeah. I haven't noticed it outside, but I don't go down there all that much.
Well, you always see it piled up against the fences.
You can see it against the fences, and I'm sure it's getting in there. If it's in the right of way, it's gotta be in those pastures.
I know it's something crazy like 500,000 seeds per plant roughly, that those and then I forget the amount of years that
And it's, yeah,
the years that it can lay
stay
dormant.
dormant for a long time.
It's crazy.
I mean, even if you don't get them killed at the right time before, then they're still a viable seed, so we've even talked about trying to go in there with weed burners and burn them.
I always assumed the reason I didn't see it around here because it tends to be a dry land plant. And I just thought there was too much moisture here for it to propagate. Apparently I'm wrong.
It's just in the last couple of years, these last 2 years, that it's come along, and we're trying to at least keep it down there.
A lot of people are assuming that it's coming from the hay from over east, and then we're hauling it in here. And then we have a lot of cattle around this place and
Good
going
point.
over. That's kind of the how did this get here and why is it in this location? And we find it around a lot of ranches and things of that nature. So there's a lot of skeptical that it's coming in on hay trucks blowing down I-5. We find it in our barrier when we're doing our sweeping and stuff like that, and then it ends up in our stockpiles, and then we gotta haul back dirt somewhere, and those seeds stay for so long that place to germinate.
Okay,
Just so I'm clear, that's rush skeleton weed, right?
No, Russian thistle.
Russian thistle, so it's not the same.
Rush skeleton weed is another issue too. We have that up in the North Douglas area.
Do you see any threats to your ability to keep the tools that you have?
I'd say probably the only threat that we have would be budget-wise threat.
Okay.
If the budget doesn't get figured out, they've gotta cut things somewhere. And figure out how to make that work. That's quite a few steps above me, but yeah, that would be the only threat that I see. Otherwise, we've got very good support from the upper management in the district to continue doing what we're doing.
And then new applicators, I'd say, just trying to get people to, that wanna be applicators to get licensed and to be applicators. You run into that issue in the agency, there's just not as many applicators as there once used to be.
so at this point in time, you have, you generally have the budgets that you can go back and retreat as you need from year to year. I mean, I think that's an issue with grants and things like that, having
Ongoing maintenance, yeah.
ongoing maintenance, so yeah. Your roads look good, I mean, the shoulders look great from what I see.
Do a lot of work, a lot of grader hours,
Appreciate it.
site application.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh, no, I'll just a real quick comment. I've lived pretty much all over the country here or there, and it might be just because of the weather, the freeze thaw, but in my experience, what I've seen in Oregon, probably the best kept up roads that I've experienced. When I grew back in the Midwest, you didn't need a speed limit because you couldn't drive that fast anyhow. I mean, I'm not kidding.
Thank you,
To,
appreciate it.
keep your applicators up to speed, do you find there's enough classes and enough information out there to?
We do, I think we have
Keep your
access to a ton of continuing education, we call it CE. OVMA, we are offered every single year to go up there to Seaside and be a part of that. And then
OSU puts on a lot of classes, either around the state or even on the web. So there have been quite a few opportunities.
and there's some local ones down in Bandon that are put on every year. So I think that there's plenty of CE for us.
Another quick question. How far from the coast can gorse spread? I mean, is it possible it could start showing up around here?
Yes.
It does.
It's
It does?
Yeah, it likes sandy soil, it grows best in the sand. I mean, we try to keep it there, it's pretty much our no-go area is down just to the north of Bandon. It's all over the place up there, but we try to, that's kind of a hard line that we draw when we try to keep it from Bandon south and trying not to let it get and spread further because it's beyond. I mean, it's it's probably gotten to a point where it's beyond being able to control down there. But it's still controllable up in the Coos Bay area. Florence will bring truckloads of it and put it in our stockpiles that are down by Bandon, because that's where we have it. As far as going east, I mean, I'm sure it can. I haven't seen it thrive the way it does over on the coast. So I don't know if that's just sand or if that's also the climate as far as the rain that they get or the moderate temperatures. We don't
That's a place that you can't help but notice it there.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it around here, but you say it is in Sutherland though.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
It's been there for a long time.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I found the isolated plant about 20 miles above Tiller.
Really?
Yeah, probably 3,000-foot elevation.
Oh, wow.
It's just one, the soil had been disturbed years before and stuff, so it got packed in somehow.
That's another one. Those seeds will last 50 years under the dirt. You know, it gets disturbed and suddenly gorse is growing and that wasn't.
Oh, that's like a devil's weed. I didn't,
Yeah, pretty much.
okay.
I've got just one more question. We are looking at potentially bringing back Weed Day. And for public applicators, is there something that we could do? I know you were talking about having good programs for right-of-way problem weeds, but would there be something that a weed day here in Douglas County would benefit your applicators?
I think newer applicators for sure. I mean, it's identification of weeds and what you're looking at, and there's so many weeds out there, and the courses that we go through and how often we spray while doing all of our other job tasks. I mean, I don't think you could get them enough information, and so having a consolidated day I think would be beneficial where that's your one focus.
And we get so focused on what's going on in the right of way, sometimes we don't know the other weeds that are going on around out there, and then they show up in the right of way and we're wondering what it is. We constantly get new weeds coming into the right of way that we won't figure out what it is, where it came from, and how to treat it or tackle it. So yeah, I definitely think that would be something that would be beneficial.
Especially with some of the ornamentals that are starting to get out there and they're spreading around and they're pretty, but you gotta go.
Along those same lines, what about been working with a couple of other colleagues on a guidebook for the Douglas County area, so Umpqua Valley and the Rogue? Is that something you guys keep in your truck or would be beneficial again to your new applicators?
Yeah, we up north I had the Weeds of the West, I think was the book that I had. And that's what I used as my Bible. And then now there's apps and some other stuff, but I think definitely having something right there that you could flip through would be beneficial.
Specific to Douglas County issues.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, because I mean,
Or
we looked at
Coos
Weeds of the
Curry
West.
even. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are on Coos Curry in Douglas, so. Good.
Any more? Shall we? Questions? That's good. That's really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us. Appreciate you reaching out.
I hope you can stay for a little bit, because we've got another weed right away.
Yeah.
Discussion here in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Oh, so let's move right along if we can. Status of funds, Maggie had that worked up, and if you look, the net income on the last page is exactly the same thing, I think, as what we show in the minutes from our last meeting. There's been no change.
Is this net income or
I should say our account balance.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
okay.
wrong term.
Money in the bank, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Maggie, I was at the meeting last night and you were talking, is this the accounting stuff that you were talking about? You were talking about they had to get a new accountant or something?
Yes, we're getting a new bookkeeper, but it shouldn't affect anything.
Oh.
You guys, we're still gonna do that for you.
Okay, that's.
don't think we can move on if that's okay with everybody.
Okay with me.
So, just a couple of quick things, other things to talk about. At the tree school, I know I sent out a letter which I think wasn't very clear. We had an exhibitor's table there. We had a little thing made up. So we had this on it. Well, just to show you guys, so people know who we were. And the table was up during lunch for about an hour and 20 minutes, and I didn't keep count, but I think I ended up talking the whole time. There were a lot of people stopped by with questions. So I'm guessing 20 plus. There were over 100 there at the tree school. There were a lot of other tables set up too. NRCS was there. Eric was there with the Unplugged Partnership and some other folks. Larry was there.
When was that?
Tracy was there.
What day was that?
Into September? Or maybe early in October. Oregon Small Woodlands was there. Also had some examples. Things that I heard, the people were asking questions, and everybody loves to talk about how they control weeds. I had some of that too, which was great. I always enjoy that. Himalayan blackberry, broom, Scotch broom, French broom, English hawthorn, and thistles were the main things. I thought it was reasonably successful, just to get to talk to people. It reminded me of being at the Glide Wildflower Show. Oh. So that's that one. The other one, I've been talking to some folks about putting together a Himalayan blackberry control tour like we did for hawthorn. And so far, Maggie has expressed interest. Shelby has expressed interest in it. Shelby says she was available on May the 8th. This is just preliminary. I wanted to let everybody know about this though. There's a ranch right outside of Green. The lady has done some mechanical stuff there, control the Himalayas, but there's a lot of Himalayas on her place. And she said we could come there on that tour. And then Carrie had me call Roseburg Lumber. Tim Truax has said we could go there. They have an area behind the mill that they have treated or gonna treat up on the hill there. May even be using some drones, and we could take the vans right up to the base of this hill. It's on the south end of the mill there, and look at that. I think that would really be good. And we were gonna check with another rancher sometime here and a couple of others.
Yeah, so I did try to call Bill Jones, but he hadn't called me back.
Okay.
There's that. My neighbor, I still have to just run into, and then if any of you guys know Rise Briggs, she's over on Morgan Creek and Looking Glass, which might be a little too far, I don't know.
Okay.
But Cindy is doing a riparian restoration project, and she just last week had a hand crew out there removing blackberries. So she is tentatively interested in showing that off.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a little bit too far out of it.
Probably not there. So we've got maybe 3 places. I think it would be a really interesting tour if folks are willing to go.
Question for you. You said Roseburg would be using drones. Would they be using drones to spray?
Yeah, they're gonna spray with drones on part of that.
And, okay, because I've never seen that, okay? Somebody's been putting signs up all around my neighborhood about drone spraying. And I just, we got a little drone, I think bought it at Weimar for like $59 or something, but it wouldn't lift a pencil. How big a drone, I mean,
There's several companies doing that now. When we get done, I can give you the name of one.
could they lift a gallon? I mean, that's
Oh, yeah, I don't know how many gallons.
5 to 8 gallons.
in a drone.
Well, the drone is probably twice the size of that table.
You can lift up to 25 gallons or more in a drone according to the size of the drone.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Extensive drone spraying going on with the agriculture system and everything else is minimum of like a 5 to 8 gallon. And then as you're bigger drone, you can go up to a 25-gallon. They've even got them bigger than that, but you gotta understand they're the size of, half the size of this room right there.
Oh, I had no idea, okay. I mean, I've just seen these little bitty ones, but, learn something every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, if anybody has any comments or thoughts about this Blackberry tour, let me know. We can, we're still a long ways off. And there's a couple of folks that said they might be interested in attending. I know one even bringing some equipment. We could have a little equipment set up. This is just an early thought at the fairgrounds. Meet at the fairgrounds. Vans have equipment there, people to look at. That's always interesting, I think. But I still think blackberries are probably our biggest problem in the county right now, and that I see them still getting worse in the ranch lands that you drive around and look at. All right, so. Okay, so our next, Don Utley, most of you know him, but I don't think everybody does. Don's been around here a long time he's with Douglas Electric Cooperative. What's your title, Don? I can't.
I'm the general foreman for Douglas Electric on the outside, and in charge of the line side and running all the right of ways.
Okay. He's gone to a lot of our meetings over the years, so I really appreciate him coming, and you're gonna talk about what you guys do.
Sure. Stay seated.
Can we have you move up? You don't have to be at the podium, but somewhere up here by our audio would be great, yes.
I'm gonna swear you in. You've been to my place.
Well, good to see everybody. Douglas Electric, I've been there for probably about 29 years. A lot of improvements have come along there with the new management system that we have there at DEC. I don't know if you guys know our new general manager, Keith Brooks, and we have chief for operations, Phil Bigler. We at Douglas Electric also have a new program that we've put in is fire mitigation. So everybody here has probably heard about fire mitigation going on. It's set to be coming up from unfortunate fires that have happened in California, spreading through our Oregon area and everything. And how are we going to protect, our members, protect our right-of-ways, and also for liability. And that's because of being a co-op itself. It's not just a liability for just the co-op we member owned, it's also protecting our members. So we have a fire mitigation program now, and that it really entails Mr. Todd Sherwood, who used to be our superintendent, is now the fire mitigation manager. He has developed a program there. We wrote our own fire mitigation program on our line side or electrical side, and also on our vegetation management side for our right of way. On our line side, proceeds with going ahead and trying to chase grants and things for basically our reclosures, replacing reclosures things, and our fusing, coming in with non-expulsive fuses that doesn't spark when it blows up, or when it sees a fault current and opens up and kills power. Also, program going through where we're trying to harden our lines, and that means instead of hot taps and everything coming up, we're using presses, things like that of the sort, so that we don't start a fire. We can't cure everything, but we can do our part to help. On our right-of-way program, fire mitigation, where we work with DFPA quite a bit. They allow us to do a lot more than others because we are out there trying to prevent, and that's along expanding our right-of-ways and our easements and anything that could be possibly called a cycle bust, which possibly could be getting into lines and causing us a problem. Here in the last 2019, which probably everybody doesn't want to remember that, Snowmageddon, and our right-of-ways and easements got totally destroyed. So we basically had to rebuild our right-of-way program. We lost just about everything. When that storm hit, and I wish I could have brought you a presentation for that to show you some of the devastation, but it cost a lot of money. A lot of damage done to a lot of the members and a lot of the Douglas County period. but it destroyed our right of ways, trees, everything. And so we had to go back through and start from the beginning of clearing our easements. On our distribution right of ways, which I describe as distribution as that is the wires, the power that we're running through our lines that comes to your houses, okay? And that's at 12,470 / grounded wire to a 7,200. It comes into your transformers, goes into your secondary wire to your house. And our easements on that now, right of ways, is at 30 foot. And that would mean from your center of your pole, you would look to the right and to the left 15 foot. We've expanded those now to 40 foot so that we can get more clearance in there and able to look for more hazard trees, the dead trees, and expand beyond that. Anything that could hit the line, possibly cause a fire. Our transmission lines were at 40-foot easements, and we've expanded those to 50-foot easements. Now, existing or grandfathered in, they stay at 30, but if we can get more, and most let us clear our right-of-ways to the extreme. We have, through this fire mitigation program through Douglas Electric, have aggressively attacked our right-of-ways. We have recently, 2023, we received a $9.1 million grant, the only co-op in the state of Oregon to get that from the United States Forestry. And that was to maintain our vegetation management. So we have been working pretty hard. We have beefed up our crews. So we used to have like maybe 2 tree crews to 3 tree crews, 3-man crews to speak of, going through our system, trying to keep up with all the vegetation, you know, and keep up with everything there to keep us on a 4 to 6 year cycle is what we kind of average, somewhere around there. Some places are more than others, some less than others, according to how the vegetation is growing. And so, my train of thought, just lost it for a second there.
It gets worse.
It does, man.
I have a question,
Yes, ma'am.
maybe that'll help jog your memory. On this grant that you have, this 9.1 million, what is the duration of the grant? And
I'm sorry, 5 years.
5-year duration.
It's 5
Thank you.
years.
And so I'm sure part of that grant was how it goes back to Steve's comment about ongoing maintenance. Do you feel like you're on the path with this grant for 5 years to be able to keep up maintenance
Yes.
going forward?
Yes, absolutely. So back to the crews, and on that, we beefed up our crews. So I'm back now,
Okay, I had a question for you, but we can wait.
All right, so on our crews, you think I'm gonna forget again. That's what it is. No. Anyway, we have got 7, 8 crews now. 7 tree trimming crews, and we had 1 spraying crew. And so we have moved all of our crews, changed the way we do things. Instead of spreading them all around the county and everything, taking care of a little bit of this and that, we're attacking our substations. And what I mean by that, all of our feeders that are going out of our substation, everybody is on that substation. So if you see a Douglas Electric, or actually either Jensen's Tree Service is our contractor, if you see Jensen's Tree Service out there, you're going to see a whole bunch of them. Example of it is take a drive up to Camas Valley. Camas Valley is right on the verge at the end of this week being all trimmed out. We've regained all of our easements there right of way, and it looks beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. So
I'll second that.
yeah, there you go. And so that's kind of how we're running things now at Douglas Electric, is kind of moving them all together, going through and attacking it all at once and moving down the line there. Another area would be take a drive down Tyee Road. It was a very problematic area there, and it's all properly trimmed now. We have gone back extensively, taken all of the hazard trees. We also have a dead tree program, which that means we are going through, we have them all mapped. We have a forester that goes through and kind of maps them. Then we go through with the crew, and as we move through in that area to trim the trees and do our right of way, then we will remove the dead trees going through there. As far as our spray program is going, we just did a little bit this year. We didn't get the chance to do much. We're pretty much zoned in on our grant, trying to successfully complete that. And of course, that's in 5 years that we have to do that. We were kind of figuring we have 1,900 miles of line, 2,200 square miles. We go from here clear to Lakeside, 10 mile lake, and we cover all of from inland east coming back all the way through Elkton, back through up to Drain, and then we go to the east side of the highway, clear past Curtin a few miles. Inland, we cover 3 counties, Coos, Douglas Electric, and Lane. We go over the mountain east and come back through Elkton area. I'm sorry, not Elkton area, but the Elkhead, Scotts Valley area. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that area. Back around, coming through, we go clear to Scott Mountain, out in Glide. We actually serve the power up through there. Come back around through Hinkle Creek, Nonpareil. Coming south, so we have 3 different districts. It's the South District, North District, which starts up about Fair Oaks, Oakland, headed up north, Yoncalla, and then stops about Elkton area, and then you have your Coastal District. And as you move back around through here, we go clear to Camas, sharing a little bit with PPNL here and there, east and west of the I-5. As we go down, we don't go any further than Brockway, maybe a little bit through there. As you go down 42, we got all the 10-mile area, and then it's out all of ours clear through Camas Valley, and then up to Signal Tree, up at the top of there. So this year on our right-of-way, as far as getting to spray, I think we've only, man, how many gallons did you guys spray this year?
Gallons?
Got a lot. Well, I think we only got like 8. If we got 1,000 gallons, we were lucky. We were so busy trying to move forward on our tree trimming program that we didn't have the availability of the manpower to go ahead and do our spraying. And we have a pretty good budget for that. And this year, I think we only got about 40 miles of our right-of-way, which in reality for us is pretty good. That's a lot of road spraying. So that means Reedsport area, Scottsburg, Lower Smith River, Schofield, Deans Creek, all that area there. It's mainly road spraying, treating alongside of the roads underneath our right-of-ways. There's several areas that we can get off and do some maintenance of spray underneath our right-of-ways there. He built the truck right there. It's a very nice Ford truck that he built. It's got a long hose on it, and they drag it out as far as they can in the right-of-way. We usually we've got Garlon 3, Garlon 4, and some other, they might mix in here and there for some other stuff. We did fall spraying this year because we did not get into the late spring, summer spraying. Some of the noxious weeds that we have problems with is not as much as yours. We have, the Scotch broom is the big one for us. Mainly Scotch broom would be on the east side of I-5, up and down through there, coming up and across through Fair Oaks, and we have some transmission lines that come up through that way. Getting rid of that is a lot of mechanical, and that's machinery and everything coming through there with a pecan header. If we can get in there and get that, otherwise it would be manpower coming in, cutting it down, and then coming back in and treating it, and that would be hand treating through there. So Douglas Electric's also, we ventured off into the drone program, so we have a fleet of guys in there now. I'm one of the guys there. We have a commercial pilot's license. We're flying our own drones. We have a drone now that will do all heat sensing and everything. We can go through and fly substations, do some of our line patrolling through our right-of-ways to see and identify dead trees, things like that, or anything that could be close to the vicinity of the right-of-way itself. It could be possibly a cycle buster. We don't want to cause a fire, and we're able to come in, document some of that stuff, come in visually, maybe send a crew out there, go out. I'm out in the field all the time, so I get out there and look at quite a bit of it. This year, next year, hopefully we're going to go off into a little bit of the drone spraying. And as far as on our right-of-ways, we're going to, and some of our budget, I'm going to contract some of that out, see how that goes. I've got some areas that I think that work very well on the Scotch broom itself, and we want to try some of that, see how it goes. Otherwise, from that, hopefully next year we'll do a little bit more spraying. I guess on my spray program, it was a 3-year program, so after I go through and clear the whole right-of-ways of all vegetation and everything that we need to, we will go in the next spring. Any slight growth that comes in through, we will treat it. and then we will go back the second year. Third year is to just go view, see if it's all good, then we'll bail off of it and we'll go on to the next step. And that's kind of the way our program is working there at Douglas Electric. And hopefully we will be doing more spraying. He was talking about if you run into, you know, consumers, members and everything, that they may have a problem with you. And a lot of that I'm finding through us is a lot of education and talking to them. You know, you just go through and just start blowing through and spraying stuff all over the place, and people have questions. They want to know what's going on. And so we're finding more and more that, you know, just out of politeness and respect, just letting them know what we're going to do. Asking permission, we usually ask permission to go on their properties anyway, but just educating them on what we're doing and everything. And you'll see that a lot of them are more, they come to a more positive note than they do a negative. They allow you to do what you need to do, especially if you're letting them know that, you know, you're doing more good on their property than it is bad by letting it go. You know? And we're finding more cooperation out there. I don't have much negative out there as far as not being able to spray, and just a few, and we know where those areas are in their mark.
The Jensen foreman was really good in Camas this year.
Yes, and so
we
we
went
have.
around with him, you know, he was looking at everything and good to talk to. Good.
Yes,
Mike.
Mike Cooley.
Mike, yeah.
So along with our program is when we beefed up our tree crews, along with that grant money, I wanted a general foreman for that tree site, and they have that now. And Mike Cooley is the guy that's kind of stayed ahead of all their crews and going and making contact with all of our customers, consumers, members, and running through that there, going through everything as far as what we're going to do out there. And Mike's doing a great job. He really is, and it's helped us immensely.
That was one thing I was gonna say. They're out at my place off and on, and I thought they did an excellent job. There's a few things I asked them to do, and they did it, and I was very pleased. I did have a question on the expansion of the right of way. I think they went out over 40 feet, which fine by me, because I was wanting to clear it anyhow. And but I've got a deed that says there's a 30-foot right of way. How nobody told me that they were gonna widen it. I was in favor of it.
Right.
And I think they went further than 20 feet, and God bless them for it.
Right.
But what's the legalities of that? I mean,
Well,
you can't just change a
It's a
deed.
good question. It is, and to be honest with you, I don't know what the legalities of that would be.
I know somebody's gonna
We're not
bitch.
forcibly going in and extending out through there. We're supposed to be communicating with our members and letting them know, with permission of the members, we will extend it out. Okay, now I don't know, not really just going with a measuring tape and taping it off and everything. They kind of go with the line and where it's looking really reasonably good right through there to make it safe and nothing creating a hazard or anything, they just go ahead and trim it out through there. Now, I don't know if they didn't talk to you or not, I don't know.
Well, they told me they were gonna be there, and I went up and talked to them a few times. They didn't say anything about expanding it, but I was asking them to, take as much as you can.
Well, and they'll take that if that's, a lot of it is if it's words, you take as much as you can, and they're gonna like, okay, all right, let's go ahead and get this done and make it safe. I don't think they're meaningful trying to go beyond, to hurt the member or anything like that. It's more, the more they can get out, the less that we have to deal with in the next go around. A lot of consumers or members, I should say, would like to leave a lot of vegetation as far as hardwood, softwoods, firs, madrones, whatever, oaks, and everything out there kind of right on that line right there. Because, your oaks are slow growing, right? Maples are our worst enemies and firs are our worst enemies. Coming in, they're the fastest growing tree out there for us up through there on our lines. Sometimes we'll agree to go ahead and maybe nurture an oak tree, let it grow, it's slow growing. The other ones, if they're, 5, let's say 10, 12 years old and everything, they're not really affecting the line too much, but they're kind of within there on that line. We really like to try to talk them into removing them then and now. Because the next time you come around in 4 years, whichever to do the cycle trimming, then it's twice the size, okay? We have more debris, we have more chance of a fire out there and everything, or it reaching the line. So expanding that, we're trying to get all that underbrush out. And the other thing too, for expanding the right of ways, not only for just fire mitigation, it's also because our purpose as Douglas Electric is to obviously supply power, give you guys power, or supply you power and everything, but it's reliable power. And it's how fast can we get that power back on? How fast can we run through that right of way, pulling up line and everything? And some people don't understand that. You know, more vegetation is underneath there out in the rural areas. 80% of our lines are rural, and we have some of the most rural areas around here where our lines go through, and it's during outages like the other night. It takes us close to 4,500 to 5,000 people out of power. They're out of power quite a while because we've got a long ways to go.
Question about that. So, you know, I'm watching the news and we're gonna have a hurricane and the world's gonna end. And I don't know about anybody else, the highest gust I had was 24 mile an hour. And so to me, it was a non-event.
It's only in certain areas, and we didn't catch anything on our south system. Everything was good. Done a lot of trimming down and through here, so our right of ways were really good. We were mainly hit harder up north and up around Yoncalla. We lost 3 substations, Oakland, Fair Oaks, and Yoncalla, and that was mainly basically through BPA, through Green Valley. So we lost that whole feed. So that's a long ways. That's miles of line.
Well, okay, so I still had the internet, which comes through DFN, so I knew it didn't take out my line. But it was showing like 3,500 customers out, and I thought, well, watching the news, I thought it's gonna be out for a day or two. Came back on in 2 hours. And so I was just curious, what caused it? I mean, could you get a crew out there and fix a line and get it running again in 2 hours?
Well, it's according to what's wrong out there and how far do we have to go. So what we have is, along with our fire mitigation program and everything, we have what's called FCIs, and fault current indicators is what they are. Okay, and these are blinking. They see a fault current and they actually sit on the line. Sometimes you'll see them out there, and these will see a fault current and they will go through them and it will blink. Okay, and that will tell us how far we need to go or how many miles that might be out. The other thing is too, is wondrous thing is that with SCADA, we have a whole. I think we are the only co-op in the state of Oregon, the first co-op in the state of Oregon that's full SCADA, and that means we have a whole operation right there that we can see our whole map, everything will tell us an outage, certain pieces of line, and we can get crews going on that right away. Headed right out there. We know the general area. We definitely know the switches or the substation that may have gone out. That's why they're able to respond so fast and get out. The situation that happened the other day over the weekend started around 3 o'clock. That would be line 6. That was be out towards the drain tunnel, and it went down. So it got a little windy out there, and it ended up being a branch, and it was out for a couple hours. And we were able to find it was just branches that had flown up wind and took out the line of Mount Baldy. So that would affect the power from there all the way back around to Green Valley, because that's the direction that it feeds. And getting a hold of BPA, getting a sub operator in through there, working with them, coming in, and we were able to get it back on. But we had little outages here and there. It got hit more up north. We didn't really have any trees go over to affect the right-of-ways at all. I had a couple of trees here and there that kind of leaned into the lines, took out a few taps out in Nonpareil, a couple up around Elkhead, Scotts Valley Road, and a handful out in Elkton area, and that's about it.
I would just, when it came back on in 2 hours, I guess I was impressed.
Yeah. And it's according to the, where we're at. I mean, where the line's going and what kind of terrain it's going to. Is it accessible? A lot of this stuff, we're doing pretty good about it being able to access our lines, but most of our transmission line, it's back in the mountains, it's back in the hills. And it's kind of hard to get to. We have side-by-sides now, things like that to get us back in there, to hike in there, to carry equipment back in. We've got the equipment to be able to get, excavators back in there, replace poles. I think we're looking at here getting a trying to invest in what you call an off-road machine, which will help the lineman be able to do more off-road back up in there if the power goes out. And that's setting poles, vice versa.
Great information.
I'm sorry, that's about
That's
it.
okay. Getting back to your spray program and noxious weeds. Is your program contract spraying, or do you have any in-house applicators?
No, it's all Jensen's Tree Service. They are our contractors. They're contractors for our spray program and our right-of-way program.
Okay.
We will be, like I said, looking into more, some different ways of going next year as far as our spray program goes. And like I said, into right-of-way spraying as far as the drones. We're gonna kind of look into that a little bit more. Looking into, I don't know if you've heard of it, but Mr. Santos Reforestation, and getting a group of their guys to go in and do a lot of backpack spraying.
Nicholas.
We have a lot of coastal range and everything there that we have some problems with, the salmon berries and stuff like that, and go in there and we've treated it, what, about 4 years ago? John, John's part of that program with us, and it held pretty good, but needs it again. And that's just manpower climbing up and down them hills there, spot spraying and everything. And those are part of the areas there that we're hoping to use some of that drone spraying. So
Yeah, just when you're clearing, especially out in that, you were talking about the Scott Valley area and hawthorn. As you cut hawthorn, having the ability to treat it just after you cut it would save you a lot of headache if you had an applicator in the area
so
that you could do something like that.
okay, we are doing that. I didn't refer to go back.
Oh, okay.
So absolutely, on our cycle term out, as we're moving through cutting all of our right of way, we're treating as we're going along too.
You are, okay.
Okay, my spray program is completely different spraying right of ways. As we're going through, we're stump treating everything.
Oh, good, okay, you are doing that then.
We're stump treating, and we go back and we're inspecting that every couple of years and everything. And if we see anything, we'll come back and try to catch it again. Yes, so we are doing that. Some of the hawthorn, well, oh my goodness gracious, Driver Valley Road areas out in that way. Some of the local ranchers, Baxters and everything, we've made some deals with them and worked with them where they're actually just removing and everything, and removing it and burning it underneath the lines out there, but it's on his property. And we have done some test projects where not even removing it. Most of it's spread underneath the power lines because of birds.
Right.
It's all they're
on the lines.
Drop seeds, right? And so that's where you get most of your hawthorn. Some of it we've been testing where it actually has worked pretty good. There's not a lot of it. We'll come in and we'll just kind of shave the top of it a little bit. Just kind of hopefully maybe stunt the growth, and that has worked a little bit. Hawthorn's hard to remove. It's the guys, it's pretty nasty on their gloves and everything. Are you okay?
Well, you're doing great, I think, but we do need to go on.
Yep, I'm all done then.
All right, well, thank you, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Very, very informative,
Yes,
good program too.
doing good work.
So we need to close up, but I was wondering, Megan, do you have anything?
I have a couple things if you guys are interested in. Did you guys discuss the annual treatment plan for the BLM?
No, that, go ahead.
Okay, so Ryan Kay's natural resource specialist, BLM, and he has his annual treatment plan. Right now he's taking requests, so if you guys know of BLM land where you think there needs to be treatment, he's taking that in right now for treatment in this coming season. And he's taking those until I think the end of the first week of December.
And I sent that to everybody the other day, I think you all got that.
The CWA meeting is also gonna be Thursday, December 5th at ODFW at 1 p.m. I'm pretty sure I sent that all. All of this other stuff is project updates if you guys are interested. Other than that, I was gonna bring up the county has money that's set aside in the grant for the county's designated I don't know who that authority is for Douglas County, we might not have one. So I was going to get in contact with maybe Coos or Curry Soil and Water Districts because Gary told me that they were their associated counties designated lead authority and they can access that kind of money. If you guys are interested, Douglas Soil and Water would love to be that authority so that we can have access to those grants and get, some improvements on the ground. It might be something that we have to petition the commissioners for. It might be something that you guys just motion. So I wanna just put that in the air, see if you guys are interested. And I can gather that information probably from the other soil and water districts. Go back maybe next meeting or send that information out to you guys. Everything else is project updates, that's what you want.
Does anybody, do we wanna go through that?
Just don't
Okay.
think we have.
Any highlights on noxious weed projects that you might have gotten grants for? Something
So
specific.
a bunch of grants have been put in, so we're trying to get the Cox Creek CWA back up. So we'll know about that in January. We did get a bunch of money for North Bank CWA, and that is focused on the habitat management area, but we also have some funds that hopefully will grow next year to treat the private land adjacent. So
Okay.
that's cool.
Is that yellow star thistle?
Yeah, that's gonna include yellow star thistle. Their focus right now is on Medusa head out there, cause it's really bad. We're trying to combine the weeds and the fire together, because they have now the prescribed bird association. And they're also focusing on North Bank and the surrounding properties. So everybody going through there, getting a burn going on, and then following up with treatments is what we're recommending to do. So that's their first burn out there to hopefully be this spring. We're hoping. So that's exciting. Woolly distaff thistle, Patterson's curse was successful. They found a lot more woolly distaff thistle out in the Goliath area this year. So we're putting in for a little bit bigger of a grant. That's this month, and then we're planning to do in February.
There's a lot going on.
Right.
So is the Portuguese broom coming back up at?
Yeah, it's bad up there. They haven't treated it like 5 or so years now, and it's.
Okay, I was worried about that, yeah. Follow up. All right, does anyone else have anything? Anybody?
The Elk Creek Watershed
Yeah.
Council, it seemed that it died off a little bit. There was some managerial tension, and now they're starting to come back to life. The next meeting, they're gonna go over their bylaws and try to get them up and going.
All right, I was wondering about that one too.
They're the association now. So the new one is the Watershed Association.
Okay, it's now the association where it used to be the,
Yeah, so the Elk Creek Watershed Council is still trying to close down. They have
yes.
so much grant reporting to do that it's taking forever. But Lee and Revere and a bunch of people got the Elk Creek Watershed Association up and going. So yeah, next meeting I think is December 10th. In Drain, somewhere in Drain.
It's the Civic Center.
Civic Center, and yeah, we'll do some bylaws, going over everything. I think they already have a chair and secretary.
Okay, good. All right, nothing else? Then I think we're adjourned. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Yes.
Where you go?